Welcome to the Activate CX podcast as we demystify and clarify the direction of CX. My name is Frank Rogers and I'm your host. I help brands grow with better CX, AI, and self-service. So today we look at AI through the lens of Sprinklr with special guest Jay Vigeland. Let's go. We've made a real case for the fact that really you don't want to be a laggard or a late adopter in this. I mean, this quite literally can change the dynamics of your business from a competitive perspective. People have, a trepidation against it, right? Like there's this paralysis of engaging. So how do we create this AI safe space? And you started to talk about some of the aspects of damping down hallucinations or the advancement of the large language models. Let's talk a little bit about that safe space, which could encompass compliance and security and the legal and everything else that you're talking about. Let's start to kind of work through that discussion and see how that plays out.
The reality is each one of these large language model providers, like I said, are a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And so not to get on my soapbox, but I think, working with a company like Sprinklr or somebody else who has interactions with multiple providers, I think is important because we can easily distinguish and differentiate one platform from the other in terms of security or in terms of just general overall process, availability, dependability, regional availability, if that's applicable, and then language coverage and things like that. So I think that's part of the process. And the other is back to the awful idea analogy, but I really, whether it's a Sprinklr or whether it's somebody else, this is not the time for homegrown, right? And IT projects. I think it's very tempting and very, you want to go nerd out on this stuff. Like it's super cool to try and bring it in-house. But the years of experience that we have to be able to provide these guardrails, I think anybody trying to catch up to speed and then to accelerate and as fast as these things are going, I can't imagine an organization really saying, you know what, we're going to set 300 people aside just for our AI project, because that's how we have more than that, but that we have 100 people working on the connection between our guardrails and AI and the large language models. 100 engineers, right?
Yes.
Not because of anything, but it's just a lot, right? And so I think part of this is, if you have a trepidation and there's conversation about doing this in-house, like run, like don't do that.
Don't do it. It's pretty simple. Data privacy. What's the best way to approach that?
So again, that one is each of these large language models is very adept at explaining how each one addresses the privacy concerns, right? And they are different, by the way. They are not demonstrably different, but they definitely, whether it's the time frame or the usage permissions of that data. The most important thing to understand at the basics, I probably should have started with this, and I think I alluded to it, but there is a public available product, and there is a more like ISV available product. Mm-hmm. So if you talk about, I gave the example of Bard, if you hadn't heard of that before, but that is the public-facing version of Google's large language model. Vertex is the one that is more locked down, right? So even just that at the basic, like you have to go in the right door, right? You don't go to the public side door for entertaining, if you were to do it yourself, a large language model project, because you are absolutely opening yourself up to feeding that large language model with potentially your intellectual property, right? So I think even knowing that is a good start. And then from there, you can start to unpack the legality and the time at which the queries are held. And, for us, again, that's where we are stripping out private data, company information, customer information when we send a query. right, into these large language models. So, and that process of stripping out and knowing what to strip out and having it being done at massive scale, again, is something that you just probably don't have the time to go try and figure out how to build yourself.
Do you find that some of these large language models, or maybe services that you're talking about, whether it be Google or other, align better with certain industries? So one might work better for finance and banking, another one for hospitality, another one for e-commerce and retail. Are there starting to be some trends across these different models where they seem to be a better fit for a particular vertical?
There is some nuance there.
Hmm.
However, to go back to Sprinklr's AI at the core, like we've developed 60 plus verticals already, and we've trained for that component of it. That's one of the key things that also allows us to ramp. I think if you have some trepidation about going to a large language model service or an AI based service that, whether it's Sprinklr or someone else, this whole concept I mentioned earlier of training is usually the first step. And it's one of these, hey, I'll get back to you in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. We've heard most recently, give us 12 months and a competitor of ours, and we'll train the model to understand your business. It's unacceptable, right? You can't do that. So, the nice thing is we're walking in with AI that understands I'm going to be a silly example, but sick in fashion is good, right? My kids tell me, and sick in healthcare is not good, right? Or no bueno, right? So, I mean, not only the languages are important, but then even the context and the keywords and the understanding. So, when we walk into a financial institution, which we have 13 of the 14 largest banks on the planet as customers, our AI already understands what you would consider to be the table stakes. What is a transfer? What is requesting for a credit line increase? What is opening up a new account? In all these different languages, the AI already understands all that context. So I think, when we talk about these, public and private different offerings from an AI perspective, you also have to look at trained versus untrained. And then you have to stack on top of that the languages and the verticalization. Because if you get a general purpose AI solution, are you going to go hire a bunch of people to train it, right? For your vertical? You're going to take 6 months to 12 months on this never-ending project, trusting that it will be trained appropriately. Those are things that I think, the industry needs to understand, that they need to press the vendors like ourselves or the industry to do better and faster, right? So,
So for you, Jay, at Sprinklr, this layer that you have that rides over the top of these different models, that's providing the governance and is providing the cumulative effect of what you've learned across an industry that you're servicing and supporting. What do you call that layer?
So it's a very, very clever name. We call it Sprinkler AI. So that literally is our core foundational AI. But this is something that we've had
Was there
arguably
a
for.
meeting for that, Jay? I just want to know, like, was that outsourced?
Yeah, it was a committee-driven decision. I'm sure. No,
Okay.
we move a lot faster than that, but we've been doing this for 8 years or so. Our data set, our training set, data set, is the entire public conversation on the internet, right? That's really where we've cut our teeth. This is what a lot of people, who may not understand that we have full-blown contact center CCaaS, capability. They may still remember us as like a listening platform, a social listening platform.
That's right.
Well, a listening platform is a training platform. We have been training on the largest publicly available data set that I'm aware of, competitive to anyone, because we already have all of the social media platforms, publicly available conversations, no DMs, we're not your DMs. But then we also ingest things like, whether it's Reddit or Yelp, or we even ingest all of the news channels and newspapers and everything else. It's just a massive, massive training data set, which is usually the first thing that vendors come in and talk to you about. Is like, well, we need your data, we need to train on your data, and we need to get a big data set. The larger the data set, the better the results. Well, we've already kind of crushed that topic by saying, We've had it for 8 years. We're doing it in real time every day. We've verticalized it, these 60 plus verticals, over 100 languages. Like now we will get to know your ins and outs of your business. If I go back to the banking, whether you have premier checking, like, okay, our AI will very quickly learn that premier checking is the highest tier, right? But you're not training it what a checking account is.
So,
Right.
how important is having a knowledge base inside your organization and cultivating that knowledge base in terms of the importance to the AI and to dampening down the risk?
We're doing some really, really cool stuff in this area right now. I think one of the challenges with knowledge bases historically has been that even though it's somewhat unstructured, we try and make it super structured, right? So we try and have like, hey, if anybody asks this question, here's the answer. This is something that large language models are insanely good at, right? And so I think even the concept of a knowledge base is changing in our platform. We do have a knowledge base offering, but the cool stuff we're able to do and show customers in very, very short time frame is just, for example, give me all your technical documentation securely. We'll upload it into our platform. And then we are applying all of our AI to it. And then we're utilizing the engines, the large language models, to take it to the next level. So that, if I want to know I've got a 1947 tractor and I want to understand what the tire pressure should be. And did someone really put that in your knowledge base? No, but it's in technical documentation somewhere. And now you have a customer service agent that sounds like they've been in the business forever. Like they actually had that tractor, right? You want them to have it so quickly served up to them in the dialogue. While I'm talking, it hears the question. Sprinklr is driving to get a result on that question. And that data could be, from a traditional knowledge base or from simply an uploaded catalog of every piece of documentation that we have. And now we have it in context, inline, quick. And that's what you want to do, is you want to have a 19-year-old customer service agent been on the job for 1 week sound like they've been there for 40 years, right?
That's right. So, question for you, like when we're looking at using that model to interrogate older content, is there a user story that says we'll use this model to actually rewrite some of the content and make some of that content available in a rewritten knowledge base article on the website as part of self-service? So we're using AI not only in the process of the chatbot, not only in the process for the voice bot, but maybe to rewrite and bring forward in a more usable fashion the content that we do have? Or is the desire to leave it the way it is and then just use an evolving model to make it better?
So the way that we're answering that question is that we're applying it in areas like our communities product, right? Where people are helping each other and someone gives a good result or a good answer or not so great answer, or maybe someone hasn't been able to answer the question, the technical question. The customer service agents start to become community managers as well. So we route a unanswered question within a time period to an agent. Now that agent could be utilizing our AI Plus features, come up with a fantastic response that goes back into the community. And that in itself is generating effectively a new knowledge base, right? A new knowledge base answer that's shared by a larger community of users or customers. And I think, that's how you're going to see this manifest itself, is that you may never get the exact same answer twice, but you'll get a really good answer, accurate answer. It'll just be written differently. And that's where a lot of this human interaction can take hold as well, because with the ability with generative AI, you can make it shorter, make it longer. Hey, they answered it in Spanglish. Let's actually have an English result and a Spanish result. Put them both there, like that type of like immediate customer satisfaction in a community setting, or in an agent setting on a WhatsApp chat. Like these are the things that are getting really fun.
So in terms of getting into this AI safe space, 12 months ago compared to now, how much have we de-risked the model?
So we, speaking for Sprinklr, have the safety and security and privacy literally as the most important element, because we're talking about trust, right?
That's right.
And for us, it's talking about trust with a customer's most important thing, which is their customer, right? And so it has to extend that trust. And I think the a lot of this is education, whether it's on this podcast or whether it's one of our solution consultants talking to a end customer. These are the dialogues that we give them, the warm blanket, if you will, that we have thought through all of these, and we're not surprised by the inquiry that they have about worried that their data is going to leak, or worried that there's going to be a sassy chatbot response. Like, these are the things that we've already cared for and put a lot of trust in. But that's also where you go back to your early adopters. We already have these very aggressive, massively large global companies using this in the wild. And so I think part of what people want to do is not be the first. And in the case of Sprinklr, like, no one at this point in time is the first, right? We have customers that have been using this integration with large language models since the past spring, summer timeframe. And so, where there have been any challenges or questions around this topic, like, we have successfully passed through that gauntlet. And so I think that's across different verticals too. So we're very able to go into that next customer who's a little bit nervous and not sure if it's a safe space. We can give them examples of the customers, the types of customers, and the use cases that have already been proven out in a very positive, very, very demonstrable result, and with zero risk to the brand.
Interesting. Is the next iteration of AI and the customer service and customer support model, and maybe even on the sales model as well, to be perfectly honest, something that has to do more with AR and VR? Is that the next iteration? And do you see that coming to a Sprinklr store near you?
Yeah, I have to be really careful about talking about futures,
Yes.
especially as a publicly traded company. But though that is a very realistic suggestion, right? If you look at the channels, if you want to be channel-less and you want to support the various channels that are out there, some of the channels like Snap or Snapchat do very well in the AR and VR space. And so if your customers between 18 and 25 years old, they're probably on Snapchat, and they probably want a experience that is what they want it to be in terms of technologically speaking, and how it should look and feel and be fun and playful and happy, right? Which is one of the drivers that Snapchat as a company like really touts, is that you want to come off of utilizing their environment happier than when you logged on. And I think that is a great foray into scenarios around customer service space as well. That, don't you want that, right? Don't you want your customer to be like, man, I just had a great chat with somebody at brand X, right? I love that product. I'm going to go buy more of it. And I think if so, you'll probably blow people's minds already having these conversations, but it's certainly things that we're right in the middle of already. And I think the cool thing for us is it's very natural and safe to us from a technology perspective, because we've been working with these channels for years and years.
Yeah, what is true is that right now, what is avant-garde and what is a little bit challenging is going to become pedestrian before too long. And I think that just symbolizes the rate of change that we're in. And more importantly, there are ways to manage this from a risk perspective. And so our conversation has been great. I hope that those people listening today feel a little bit more comfortable about the topic matter. People like ourselves at Arroyo 360, people like Jay and his hundreds of colleagues and compatriots at Sprinklr really know what they're doing. And so these things really get down into a point A to point B proposition. Do you know where you are? Do you know where your state of the industry is in terms of your competitive landscape? And what does B look like, and how are you going to get there? you have to start this process of exploration, and it is a detailed exploration. That is for sure. This isn't, I don't see, and Jay, you can speak to this as well. This is in no way, shape, or form a checkbox world that we're living in terms of AI and self-service. Like, it has complexities, but the juice is worth the squeeze.
No question. And it's fun to see the adoption, right? When it's really starting to fly. And there's really no limits from the perspective of what you can accomplish on these digital channels, whether they're human or bot assisted. So, by vertical, by capability, video, co-browsing, booking airline tickets, booking back-end services. Like, it just, you can do it all now. You really can. And the channel doesn't necessarily matter. It's really about driving the future of customer care.
Completely. Jay, thanks for today. As always, we have a brilliant conversation, and I love your wisdom and your know-how, and thanks for being here, making the show complete.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yep. So there you have it. I'm going to let you arrive at your own conclusions. There's really no reason to summarize this up. There are probably a couple of important points that it perfectly makes sense to get moving forward on AI and incorporating that in, and it's a process. The second part is every single day, the challenges and the risk of this is being damped down considerably. So just think of that as also part of the iterative rate of change. If you want to be successful, let us help you go get it. Activate CX with a trusted advisor today. If you like this podcast and you want to follow it, please crush the link down below, like and subscribe. We're also on Apple Podcasts as well. I think you might like that. And we've got some cool things on TikTok. Regardless, we're here to kind of up the game about CX, AI, self-service. And we also have a way to help you get there from point A to point B. And we have the relationships with all the right people. Case in point, Jay from Sprinklr and others, but we really love that company and we love the people there as well. I think that's a part of the equation that's important outside of competency in a product that delivers. So thank you very much. Have a great day.